What's good, Chiefs Kingdom, and welcome back to the Water Boys channel as I'm going to give you our instant reaction of the disappointing loss of the Cincinnati Bengals coming back and beating the Kansas City Chiefs 34-31. But before I dive into any of that, please be sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video, as whether we win or as you see we lose, I will be back here with the instant reaction. I will keep you up to date on all the latest NFL news and rumors and anything regarding the Kansas City Chiefs. And without further ado, let's dive right in. Before I dive into the game, and I want to address everything with it going further on more into it, I want to address where everyone thinks where we lost the game and what a lot of people are going to be criticizing as well, which did affect the game immensely, is the officiating. But at that as well, I guess my standpoint, they were huge calls, and I did believe I'm gonna go to say 75% of them went against Kansas City as well, and half of them I don't think were legit penalties, but as well, kind of like how they say with the boxer is like you go for the kill, you go for the knockout, you never leave it up to the scorecard, and that's basically what it was. If you kept Kansas City floating, I mean, if you kept Cincinnati floating around in this game, and with how explosive their offense is, they would have a chance of winning the game. And even when Kansas City was up by double digits, even 14, it still felt like it wasn't good enough as well. I think the biggest turning point of the game, which a lot of people won't focus on, but should as well, because they will say Kansas City shouldn't have had no business being in the game at that point, but was at the end of the half with the minute left when Pringle returned the kickoff return, and then a holding called it back and negated the whole thing, which you see, yeah, holding did open the lane, but as well, he was already pushed to the ground. Zane Anderson had no business on doing that, but he did. Unfortunately, took it away, but still kept KC alive as well. Mahomes bootlegs, makes an amazing almost 70-yard pass, and it was a great defensive play. Defender knew how to punch it out, but again, if Hill just tucks it in and catches it with his hands and bring it in instead of having it guarded on his chest, that would have changed the game and at least led to a field goal. If not, the way KC was driving before the first half ended, it would have been a touchdown. They would have been up 35-17. It would have been a completely different game, because we go into the second half and they only score 3 points. The offense completely disappears, and looking back, you can't really like pinpoint anything that completely went wrong. The defense was the one who had the majority of the penalties that people will say is the reason KC lost the game. But offense, they were still moving the ball and things like that. They did have a couple key three announcements as that. I think Cincinnati only capitalized on one of them, which they scored a touchdown on. But again, like KC was still moving the ball. They kind of went away from what they were doing in the first half, which was kind of disappointing because they switched their schemes. Mahomes was slinging the ball. He had one of his best first halves I've ever seen. He looked vintage Mahomes. The offense looked vintage themselves. Even though Hill and Kelsey weren't fully involved, he was still finding the Robinsons, the Pringles, and the Hardmans. They were looking good. Even Gordon, towards the end of the game, had a clutch first down as well that at this point doesn't mean much. But it was good to see him getting involved, even though it was one catch. But again, it's like they fully abandoned that, because when you go into the second half, it was kind of like clock management and just running. Even though those runs were going for like 5, 6, even 10 yards a pop, it wasn't that explosive play, because Cincinnati, they ended up, even though they were bending, they never broke, and they were able to stop them eventually. Cincinnati was still doing what Cincinnati was doing all game, which is what got them back into this game. Also, too, I want to point out is we're used to seeing a KC adjustment of defense, and it never happened. This KC defense looked just as bad as what they did when they first started off the year, and we knew it was going to be a challenge when you come into the lights of Joe Burrow slinging the ball to Jamar Chase, who had a career game, which I'll get into as well. And T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd weren't fully involved, but they made the plays when they mattered the most, and Mixon as well was kind of shut down as well. He didn't have a huge game, but that's what I was going to get into right here with Jamar Chase. It's just like, man, over 200 yards, over 11 catches, 3 touchdowns, and that adjustment never came at all. It's like, I know what kind of defense KC plays, and I got kind of, not heckled, but came after on one of his touchdowns. But it's like the one where he was on the far side and they say Sorensen got burned, which he did. But as well, we all know Sorensen shouldn't be put in that position. But as well, my pushback with that is Fenton, I know he was staying in his zone, but we know how well Chase has been going off. I would have stuck with him a little longer, maybe 2-3 yards, because you saw he was staring him down and he threw it right there, and he knew that it was either going to go to Boyd or Chase. He stayed in his zone, came back to Boyd, and I don't know. Boyd may have still picked up the first down, but if you would have stayed, he would have forced to throw in the coverage, and Chase would have probably caught it, but Fitton would have slowed him down, and I think Sorensen would have made the tackle instead of getting burned for 72 yards. But that was my case I was making with that. But again, I think a catch would have still been made, maybe a touchdown. Who knows? It might have eventually came later down the line. But the adjustment part as well is this man-on-man stuff with Chase. Like I said, I know all their other receivers are good and they're big playmakers and things like that, but if someone's dominating the game, adjust and let's see what the other guy can do. And let's see if the other guy can beat you. There's a good chance in this game they probably would have, but double Chase. Don't let him keep manhandling you throughout the game, and that adjustment never came as well. And then also, too, is Burrow was getting banged up. He was banged up in the second quarter when he took his first sack, and then later on in the game, I think on the last drive, which was unfortunate, he got hurt as well. But it's like, if he's not sustainable throughout, like, rush more. Like, I get what we're doing here. It's like, play your original rushers and man on man and hope for the best, or even in zone coverage as well, hope for the best. But if you hit Burrow and make him uncomfortable and he'll start throwing balls, it's like he was limping at the end of the game. Who knows if he would have made it throughout if we kept rushing more, because we ended up with 4 sacks. We could have ended up with more if we stick with the rush. And then I know it's kind of contradicting myself because I said that's how Casey was going to play defense. But again, if you see it's not working, adjust, because it's what ended up actually losing you the game, because he knew he could pick apart anyone that was covering Chase. And it's not like Ward had bad coverage, because on a lot of those he had good coverage. Just Chase is a beast. Like, he solidified being your rookie of the year. Like, he went off. He went crazy. And it's just going to be interesting to see. And now we're going to go into the playoff seedings as well, because I would have been more hurt because this is just another game at this point where we did go down to the 2 seed, but hey, it is what it is. I think this is a big game to go back into the game room and adjust a lot of things. And if you see this team again, which I don't know, you might not, because Cincinnati clinched their division, KC has their division clinched. So the only way these two teams would meet, that's not true actually. I'll contradict. We could see each other in the divisional round, but it more likely would be a championship round if we do make a run. But with that as well, I'm not too upset, because I would rather have a loss now than having a loss in the playoffs where you don't get a shot again. At least you know we still have weaknesses on this team. You have stuff to build off of. You need to bring it all together again. And a huge game against Denver, I'm kind of iffy on what I would do in this game against Denver, because every game matters and anything can happen any given Sunday, like they say. But Tennessee goes up against Houston, and that looks like a likely win, and they'll clinch the number 1 seed. With that being said, too, as well, I know Casey will still play their starters, but God forbid an injury happens or things like that. I'm kind of leaning toward let's play more of the backups or just see how the game goes. I get it. We play for the number 1 seed because you never know what happens. But at that, too, I bring it to this point is before the game even started, Orlando Brown, he hurt his calf in practice. We don't know the severity of the injury. I did see him on the sidelines at the end of the game, so hopefully that is a good sign as well. But then it looks like we lost our right tackle filling in for Orlando Brown at left tackle. And I don't know the severity of that injury as well, but it looks way worse because he had the cart brung out. He was declared out right away. Hope for the best. Looks like it's an ACL injury, so it sucks you lose 2 of your starting linemen. It's kind of like a repeat of last year where we lost our linemen, and now we could be struggling through the long haul. But with that being said as well, the line held their own. Tooney, he is like a stud. He came, played left tackle, and did amazing as well. That line didn't flinch whatsoever. They're not the reason we lost this game. It's got a lot to do with coaching down the stretch, defensive coaching as well, and I will throw a percentage of officiating, but like I said, you can't have that be the entire blame as well, because you knock a team out when you can, and Casey had many opportunities to do it, and they didn't do it, and that's why they take this unfortunate loss as well. And like I said, another thing that would have made me so upset with this game as well is Tennessee handled business. Miami never stood a chance. Now, if Miami won today, I would have very mixed emotions right now, because I'd be like, damn, we could have clinched the number 1 seed. But hey, we're number 2 seed. There's no different feelings on how I feel. The defense is kind of scary to me, because I'm like, damn, they really got burned like that. But at the same time, what other offenses opposes Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, and T. Higgins with Joe Mixon and then Joe Burrow slinging the ball? Burrow's on a run right now, so they're hard to stop. Not other offense oppose that, so the defense just needs to adjust to that as well. And I know we're going to hear in the media, because the media, they all pick Cincinnati, and hey, it all came to fruition. I don't think it played out the way everyone thought it would. It was a huge game. Joe Burrow did his thing. I think KC still should make a playoff run, but we'll have to see how they adjust because it's going to be huge. And also week 18, that extra week, hopefully it's injury free as well. Hopefully we get a healthy Clyde Edwards-Helaire coming back. Darrell Williams played huge as well in the runs that Derek Gore had. He only had like 2 or 3, but he came out like firing. I just think KC abandoning their game plan offensively going into the second half hurt him a lot because Mahomes was finding his targets and moving the ball down efficiently and effectively. You just didn't see that in the second half because it was more, not dink and dunk, but it was more like, I know we told him to take what's given to him, but I think that's also the game plan that was going forward. It's like kind of crunch the game down, take the clock off, time management, and they didn't. Cincinnati took advantage of that completely, and Cincinnati stuck to their guns ablazing. And that last 2 minutes was kind of hurtful as well because I was hoping, hey, just let them run in, let them do, and let Mahomes try to get it back, and let's see what happens. And then KC, yeah, they made their stand, and then that's where those penalties come to play and all that. And Snead, I don't know if I think the hand was here, and it just kind of, wrapped, but it is what it is. And that's going to be called. Like, if it's anywhere, hands near the face, it's going to be called. And also, too, I mean, Mixon did get in. I don't think his knee was down, but it was still gave Mahomes like 46 seconds, see what happens. But let's just say he doesn't do anything. We got to take the L. We got to hold it. The biggest thing is just to learn, be optimistic about it, and hopefully they can come back with a vengeance and get back to who they are because they do look like who they were offensively. It's just they abandoned who they were. And then defensively was a huge struggle, but like I said, you're not going to see an offense like this much. You might see him in the playoffs, and hopefully you adjust when you meet again because you can't let Chase do what he did. Everyone else didn't do much, and it was just Chase, defense not stopping them, and then penalties down the stretch getting the best of KC. But with that being said, Chiefs Kingdom, let me know how you feel about this victory, if you're still being very optimistic about it, or if you kind of like are teeter-tottering now and feel like, hey, this could be a struggle because I will admit as well, I mean, we've lost to Cincinnati, Tennessee, Buffalo. We've lost to big powerhouses, even Baltimore as well earlier in the season. I'd like to see us take down one of these powerhouses as well. I do think we have the power to beat a Tennessee and Cincinnati. I just don't think it was our Sunday given that time. Hopefully in January when it comes around, it's a different story and we see how it plays out. But thank you for checking into my instant reaction. Please do subscribe as well because I will have more things coming up. I will have a preview on the Chiefs in Denver, and I will give you your playoff preview looking forward as well. So thank you for checking in, and I am checking out. Enjoy the rest of your football Sunday because there is good matchups.